Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news, the industry, and of course, stream for fun. Today we're talking about Crimson Desert, and while we do have a patch, able to see that the UI is still incredibly busy with what's going on. So this is just some kind of tips if you're just kind of missing something. So at the top left, you can tell that we have the bumpers, right, and the triggers. And so think of it more of like at the top a category for the bumpers, and then the bottom for the triggers is all subcategories. If you're having trouble finding things on the map, make sure you click on the subcategories to try to open up different parts of the world. So if you're on quests and you don't have a lot of quests left, you're probably not going to see very much. But like if you click to environmental, you can then see pretty much everything you've come across, including the things that you have discovered or haven't discovered yet. And this makes it easy to try to actually find some stuff that maybe you haven't, you have a hard time actually getting back to. There's also a thing too as well for factions, is again, it basically shows up on anything that you've come across for a particular area, building, or anything like that, which is great. And it all highlights and shows you where it is and basically the route to how to get there. That's a really nice improvement. And all it helps you show the kind of like big general locations, but it still doesn't necessarily show you everything. So yeah, make sure you actually tab through that to really find what you're looking for. Because like, let's say you're looking for maybe some fast travel points, but you can't find the ones that you've unlocked. Well, just click over to environment and then they show up right on the map, which is great. And it's also these as well, once you're off your horse. So things are kind of somewhat finicky and need to be in a certain state in order for things to work properly in the game, and it just takes some time actually learning all of that. We go over to inventory. You're looking at basically your current layout, which is pretty easy to see, and your overall stats and stuff, but then too, anyone else that is currently in your party. So I have me and my horse, and when I tab over to my horse, a lot of this stuff actually completely kind of blurs out, and I don't actually have very much available, if really anything, for my horse itself. But when I am on my character, you can see that at the very top of the inventory, well, these are also like categories. When I tab over to one, you can see that items appear on the left and work their way from top to bottom, and these are basically labeled for you already. These are all key items. This one is abyss items, this one is bounty notices, documents, journey, keys, mystery, and so on and so forth. And it also continues. So you have the key items that are in purple, and then you have the other ones that are actually labeled that don't necessarily have a color but still have that kind of like secondary border. So bounty notices, crafting manuals, documents, journey items, and all of this, treasure maps, etc. And those will continue to accumulate as far as it needs to, as far as I can see, all the way down. And all you have to do is basically just hit the quote like action button or select group, and then just work all the way down to basically select whatever you're looking for, which is actually quite nice. All of this too is relatively laid out in the way that you pick it up. So if you picked up something at the beginning of your journey, it's likely to be toward the top, and if you picked up something literally just a second ago, it's likely to be at the bottom. When we take a look at journal, basically again, categories at the top, subcategories at the bottom. So you have your main quests, and the red is going to be highlighting basically what you're currently on. But you're able to look through all of the main quests at this point. They're all basically chaptered. I don't know how far they go, but probably for a while. Next we have faction quests. Now, your main faction is posted in the big picture on your left, and then you have all of the kind of like sub-faction stuff in the region or area that you're in or looking at. So in the region of Hernand, I have all of these other different factions, and when I actually add all of these up together, there's 175 of these just in Hernand, which is crazy. And there's plenty of other regions out there, and there's also plenty of other groups. So at least 1,000, right? Or maybe even over that. And then there could also be post-launch content, or who knows what their things are going to look like in the future, because they also made Black Desert, which they supported for basically over a decade. So yeah, simply just click on one, and then you can see what's actually available. And if you kind of think of this as like a Samsung phone or like a Google Pixel or something, it kind of makes a little bit more sense with like the menu system. And the menu system, it is busy, but once you think of it that way, it makes it a little easier to actually navigate and get around. Next, we also have challenges, which is basically the same thing. The exploration, the mastery of weapons, the combat, life, mini game, and etc. So as you unlock and discover these, they will show up, and then you can click on these and find out, oh yeah, which one did I get, which one did I not, or how many are left. And you basically have to find these. When we take a look at knowledge, it's the same thing. This is like your codex or like your database, where you're able to look at people or factions or territories or groups or collectibles or whatever, and you're able to look at all of that stuff. And again, there are hundreds or thousands of these. There's probably thousands of these. And yeah, this is a very, very in-depth game. And so yeah, if there's something specific that you're looking for, you can kind of look for it, as the adventure, the abyss. And then you can start actually looking at different areas or different places and start actually reading up on your lore a little bit about the world that you're in, which is kind of nice. But there are definitely quite a few of these. There's also crafting manuals too, or whatever else you're working on. There's also notifications, and these work from most recent at the top down to the bottom at the oldest, so which is nice. So again, if there's something you're kind of thinking about or you thought you did, look through your notifications and you'll be able to look that out. One thing too, next is skills. We again have focuses of your party, your subcategory for skills. You have Cliff and anyone else that is actually in your party group or that you've actually unlocked. Now your horse doesn't have any, but everyone else that can be a potential companion will actually have that. So you have your overall actual skill tree here, and this never really changes for each companion or for yourself, but what does change is when you actually work on switching weapons. So you can highlight something here, and again, you kind of have to be over one or select one of these, and then you can hit Y, and then you can select, as you can see, what type of weapon you're actually looking for. And it doesn't change any of the stats or how much stamina it takes or actually what's available. It's not like you have to upgrade everything for every single weapon, but you're able to see what type of weapons they're able to use and what that actually looks like in the picture, whether it's more consecutive hits, stronger hits, or whatever, right? Or faster speeds or slower speeds. And then too, for each individual companion, while some of this still is also unlocked that I have available, again, it is laid out a little bit different with what's available or what they already have unlocked. So the last thing too is other. And if you're really looking for something on how to do something or something that you've already done, or maybe if you wondered you've known how to do it, there's basically your controls, which you can work on. Pretty much looking at all of this, and there's a ton, and again, some of them are still question marked. I don't even have all of them unlocked because yeah, there's ultimately so much to the game. But yeah, there's quests and adventures, and basically anything you're kind of looking for, there's a massive kind of decimal system for the entire thing, kind of like a catalog for everything, and there's a ton, so definitely take the time to actually go through that. For your actual options, they've gotten a little bit more simplified. Probably the busiest thing is settings, and they've added a little bit more, but not by much, and really just adding like 120 hertz mode, and then maybe a little bit more for some of the adjustments. But yeah, in my opinion, the UI is definitely improved. With how I would think about the game, if you're kind of struggling with this, you're still wanting to enjoy the game, or you're not enjoying it as much as you thought, think of this game as an action sandbox. It's not really extremely story-driven. It's about your journey through the world and where you want to go and take it. Even though we have a primary or like a main story or quest, it's not necessarily from the start or finish through your entire experience through the map. It's going to be a piece of it, and how you go and where you go and what you do and decide is ultimately going to play out for your own personal story of your time in Crimson Desert. So, and this is why, too, the world is ultimately so big. Now, MMOs have this, but also other games have had this, too. Just like with Starfield or Kingdom Come Deliverance, or even like Just Cause way back in the day, or the Fallout games, or the Elder Scrolls series. I mean, take your pick. There's been multiple. And again, the idea is to kind of have a story to get you started, something to work toward, to give you some things in the game, or some items, or some skills, or whatever. And then eventually, it just kind of lets you loose through the rest of the game. And that's what this is doing. Again, it's not going to be everyone's liking, but that's how they made and designed the game. And for some of us, we really do love it, myself included. So I'm already heading toward 20 hours, and I can't wait to explore more, man. Anyway, hopefully that was helpful. We'll see you guys on the next one.